Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's cracking? What's happening? What it do? What's good? It's your girl KB. You know what I do, and you know why I do it. If you don't, keep tuning in and you'll figure it out. Okay? It's the second day of 2026, and I turn on my phone. I look at some of my posts. I look at some of the comments, feedbacks. I look at some of my email. And I just need you to know I'm coming in hot for 2026. So buckle up. I'm tired. And what I'm not going to do is go back and forth and out of my way for folks who continuously show, for lack of a better word, disrespect. Now, you've heard me say, for me, there's no such thing as disrespect. You know, I always have to ask myself how I showed up, right? And I'm going to tell you, I showed up righteously. And I can say that with all honesty. I can say that without hesitation. You know, I'm the type of person that believes in loyalty, even when some folks, by standards, aren't deserving. I show up. But when we get to that point where, I have to look at why I'm participating in something that the other party is not participating in, I see that as disrespect. You're hollering help, but you're putting forth no effort to help save yourself, if you will. Okay? I'm saying all this to say, I looked at the internet yesterday and I posted the story on my Facebook, and I believe I posted it on my IG, but I'm not sure. I can't recall. I will double check that, but I know it's on my Facebook because I'm looking at my Facebook. It's about a man, and I use this term very loosely. And before you guys start saying I'm bashing, I'm saying this with all disrespect intended. So you don't have to guess. A man who is also the chief of those 3Ks, who's claiming to be a pastor, is stating that he doesn't know whether black people can be saved and go to heaven according to biblical principles. He is standing on, not according to biblical principles, according to his interpretation. And see, what folks are failing to realize is that this is foundationally white Christian nationalism. What folks fail to realize is that many belief constructs, and I mean religious belief constructs, are rooted in this madness. I shared last week that I had a conversation with my sister, and I told her about the slave Bible. And, that a lot of what we know as organized religion and what we've embraced as Christianity were, they were filtered as a means of control. So Different people got different interpretations, different breakdowns. And then we built on that. That's why I love people who study, the history of the text. And I keep sharing this young woman's name, Monty Mador, or Mader, who's on IG. It's Montemader. I believe it's all one word. And she was raised in a setting of white Christian nationalism. So she breaks it down. She's a sister who has determined to expose and to break generational curses based on these teachings and this theology. And I've shared with you guys that, I was licensed through my church as a lay minister, and then I went to seminary for a certificate of ministry program, and then I was ordained, I want to say 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. And I consider myself a Christian, but not in the context that most folks think of Christianity. I like to talk about things that, we seem to gloss over in church settings, or we tend to be judgmental about in church settings. We have this church language, this church speak, this church protocol that has nothing to do with the gospel. And we hold firm and fast to tradition. And we sit around and wait for somebody to break down scripture for us. We'll walk around with the Bible all day. We'll cite scripture all day because we have it memorized, but we don't know the context in which it was written. And we need to stop. I'm of that opinion. We just need to stop that. Understand why it was written and who it was written for. Then cite and recite, if you will. I tell you all the time, I consider myself a Christian because I know what God has done for me on a personal level. When I was younger, I shared the theology of my grandmother and mother. And then I heard God speak to me. And I know in many circles I would be deemed a heretic to have other church folks speak on me. But I'm going to keep on keeping on. So please don't come at me with, I thought you were supposed to be this, or I thought you were supposed to be that. You know who I'm supposed to be? Me. And I'm declaring it, and I'm living it out. And I'm living it out loud in 2026. I'm not going to be relegated to what you deem safe spaces. I'm all up in your face. Like I said, I'm coming in hot.